How's it going, everyone? Johnny Talk Sports here to bring you my Week 8 NFL predictions. Last week, I did okay, 9-5 overall. I went 2-2 against the spread, which it's kind of good compared to weeks before that. But I really want to get a 3-1 record or even a 4-0 record this week against the spread, which we'll find out what those picks are going to be later this week. Anyway, before we do address the Week 8 predictions, I wanted to address something before we got to it. Was Amari Cooper yesterday being traded to the Dallas Cowboys in exchange for a first-round pick? It looks like John Gruden is kind of cleaning house in Oakland a little bit. Kind of wanting to dissemble this football team before it goes to Las Vegas in a couple seasons. So the Raiders will now have 3 first-round draft picks in April's draft. And I think this is going to be a team to look out for in the offseason because there are some speculations that the Raiders are not done. They're probably listening to deals right now for Derek Carr, which teams that are probably looking into that. Maybe Jacksonville is. Maybe the Dolphins are. Those are 2 teams in particular that might be looking for a quarterback in the draft if they can't maybe trade for one. Maybe, I don't know, something tells me maybe the Buccaneers could as well, because Jameis Winston still does have the off-field issues sometimes. So those are just probably 2 or 3 teams in mind that could be listening to some deals for Derek Carr. And Carl Joseph is also on the trade block right now. Patrick Peterson's requesting for a trade. So Patrick Peterson, it's going to be interesting because I think he's going to be dealt out of Arizona before this trade deadline is over with next week. Okay, so let's now get to the Week 8 predictions. So let's hope that I can do a lot better this week. All right, let's start with the Thursday Night Football game, the Miami Dolphins versus the Houston Texans. And I like the Texans in this one. The Texans are on a roll the last couple of weeks, and I kind of think this roll is going to continue. I feel like the Dolphins are kind of inconsistent this year. They're kind of unpredictable. They started off 3-0, they lost 2 in a row, they beat the Bears, and they lose to the Lions. So this is looking like kind of a pattern. It looks like the Dolphins will probably lose 2 games in a row, and this would be 2 in a row. I like the Texans. Next, we have the Philadelphia Eagles and the Jacksonville Jaguars. This is going to be the Sunday morning game as it will be played in Wembley Stadium in London. And both of these teams, I think both these teams are very desperate for a win. But I think the Jaguars. Well, by the way, before I even confirm my pick, this matchup, it had a lot of hype to it in preseason. But since both the teams aren't having the records, they're kind of underachieving so far this season. It just seems like this isn't as exciting of a matchup as what we were kind of hoping for. Like, once you saw this matchup in preseason, you probably couldn't wait for this matchup. But now it's almost like not so much because both these teams are desperate for wins. But I like the Jaguars to win this because the Jaguars, they seem to be on another level when they play in London. I think they enjoy playing in London. If I were them, I would make your franchise in London. Because the Jaguars, they seem to be unstoppable when they go to London. And I think this applies here on Sunday. I like the Jaguars. Next we have the Denver Broncos and the Kansas City Chiefs. And I like the Chiefs in this one. The Chiefs just seem to be on a roll. They're just scoring at a high level pace. Although if I remember correctly, I think the Broncos, when they played them earlier this year in Mile High, I think the Broncos are the only team this year to hold the Chiefs under 24 points. At least I think that's what it is. But I think the Chiefs win this time in Arrowhead as well. I think we're going to see kind of like what we saw in the Sunday Night Football game. The Chiefs' defense, it just seems to be back. The Chiefs' defense has done pretty solid the last 2 out of 3 weeks. Not allowing too many points or yards. And I like the Chiefs to kind of carry on the momentum that they have right now. Next, we got the Cleveland Browns and the Pittsburgh Steelers. These 2 teams played on week 1, and it resulted in a tie. Le'Veon Bell is still not back on the Steelers team. He is still not reporting to practice or to He's not showing up. And I think the Steelers, I think they're going to still win without him. Because, well, I know the Browns could have won if they would have had special teams. But I think this game could possibly go into overtime again. But I just think the crowd in Heinz Field will be too much for a rookie quarterback like Baker Mayfield. I think the Steelers will win this matchup. I feel like the Steelers will have a little bit of an easier time against the Browns this time. So I will take the Steelers in this matchup. Next, the Washington Redskins versus New York Giants. The Giants are desperate for a win, but the Redskins, they are surprisingly leading the NFC East right now. I think the Redskins get another win. I think a win against the Cowboys last week, a divisional rival, I believe that they have the momentum. They have momentum like any other team in the NFC East right now. The Redskins, I think they need this win because it's only a matter of time for the Cowboys and Eagles or Eagles, they start winning these games. I feel like the Eagles, the Super Bowl hangover is a thing, and the Cowboys, they have the confidence in Amari Cooper. But I think the Redskins do win this week. I feel like the Redskins could be a surprise team kind of down the line. It wouldn't surprise me if the Redskins, they ended up winning this division and making the playoffs. Because it's kind of an ideal situation where Alex Smith is a game manager. And he's been managing to win these games pretty closely. So I like the Redskins. I'm going to say probably a close one. I think it's going to be decided by less than 6. Next, we've got the Seattle Seahawks and the Detroit Lions. Now, I didn't know who to pick in this one, but I went with Seattle. Because I feel like this is the type of game where Russell Wilson will put the Seahawks on his back. So Seattle wins. That's kind of my thing. Because I just feel like the games that the Seahawks will end up winning this year, it's going to be one where Russell Wilson has to carry the Seahawks on his back. And I think it's going to be this one. It's going to be this type of game where he does. And I think he will get the job done. Next, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers versus the Cincinnati Bengals. I didn't know what to really pick in this one either because the Bengals, I don't know, they just seem to be a little bit flat right now after the blowout loss on Sunday Night Football to the Chiefs this past week. And the Buccaneers, they're coming off an overtime win against the Browns. But I'm going to take the Bengals. I just don't know why, but I'm just going to take them. Next, we got the New York Jets and the Chicago Bears. The Bears are on a 2-game losing streak. And the Jets, kind of unpredictable. But I'm going to take the Bears because I just feel like the Bears are going to... I mean, they were about a yard away from forcing overtime. But what I think would have happened is I think this would be an interesting thing to watch play out. Let's just say that Kevin White is able to fight for that extra yard. I feel like if they would have scored that touchdown, they would have gone for 2 to try to win the game. Because there's no way that you can beat Tom Brady in overtime. So I really think the Bears would have gone for 2. But they won't have to go for 2 this week because I think the Bears will be able to win this pretty handily. Especially with the Bears' defense, I think they're able to take advantage of Sam Darnold, force him into mistakes. It's going to be interesting to see what the temperature is going to be for that game because this is going to be the first time in Sam Darnold's career where he might have to play in somewhat of a cold temperature. Especially somewhere like Chicago, the windy city. California kids not really used to that weather. If it really has an impact. But either way, I think the Bears will be able to win no matter what the weather is. Rain or shine or whatever. Next, we have the Baltimore Ravens versus the Carolina Panthers. And I feel so bad for Justin Tucker missing 1 extra point. He even admitted himself that he cost himself the game. But guess what's going to happen a week later? Well, earlier this season, Mason Crosby, he missed, I believe, 4 or 5 kicks. And then the next week, he kicked the game-winning field goal. I think this could easily happen with Justin Tucker this week, and I think it's probably going to happen. Justin Tucker is going to redeem himself this week by kicking a 54-yard game-winning field goal against the Carolina Panthers, and the Ravens will win 31-28. Book it. Book that one. Next, we've got the Indianapolis Colts versus the Oakland Raiders. And I am going with the Colts because the Colts may have just beaten the Bills last week pretty handily. But it just seems like Oakland might be tanking. It seems like the tanks are rolling into Oakland. They're going single file, but they are heading to Oakland. As John Gruden wants to ensure he gets a pretty high draft pick because he's going to have 3 of those babies once we get to April. Because he's going to have his first round pick, he's going to have a Bears first round pick, and the Cowboys. So 3 first round picks, might as well try to make one of them as high as you can. Because you're going to get your Khalil Mack replacement out of whatever pick that you end up with. Next, we got the San Francisco 49ers, the Arizona Cardinals. The 49ers are the team that gave the Cardinals their only win of the season so far. And I think the Cardinals will win this one again because the Cardinals, they seem to do well at home against teams. Their stadium, for some reason, is a trap game for a lot of teams. It was a trap game for the Jaguars last year. It was almost a trap game for the Seahawks. It just seems like whenever you play the Arizona Cardinals in their home stadium, it just seems like a trap game for a lot of teams. I think the Cardinals, they're able to pull it off in their stadium. All right, next we got the Green Bay Packers versus the Los Angeles Rams. And the Rams are kind of like the Chiefs. They got the second best offense in the NFL, I think. So I think the Chiefs' offense is just a little bit better. But we will see what the teams are made of because they will play on a Monday Night Football game. I believe it's November 19th in Mexico City. So it'll be very interesting to see those 2 teams. But we're not there yet, unfortunately. But I'm going to take the Green Bay Packers pull off the upset over the Los Angeles Rams. And the Packers are coming off a bye. I know a lot of the times the NFL coming off a bye week, you get a little rusty. But when you're someone like Aaron Rodgers who's on some rest now, after he had to bail out the Packers once again on Monday Night Football a couple weeks ago, it might light a fire under the Packers' tail to perform very well for their master Aaron Rodgers. And I think they will. Wouldn't surprise the Packers ended up blowing the Rams out. But I think the Packers will win this, and there will be no undefeated teams left in the NFL. The 1972 Dolphins, they popped the champagne bottles for one more year. At least. Next, we got the New Orleans Saints versus the Minnesota Vikings, Sunday Night Football, NBC. And this is the rematch that led to the Minneapolis Miracle. And I think the Vikings will win this matchup, but there will be no Minneapolis Miracle required. I think the Saints' defense has just looked very inconsistent so far this season. You don't really know what to expect from the Saints' defense. And you got Kirk Cousins, who is undoubtedly arguable of a better quarterback than Case Keenum is. And you've got Thielen. He's going to eat. Diggs going to eat. The Vikings receiver's going to eat. All the Vikings will eat Sunday night. The Vikings win huge. Probably by more than 13, to be honest. And finally, Monday Night Football, we got the Patriots and the Bills. Not much to talk about. Brady on the road to Buffalo could give him some problems, but I think the Patriots will find a way to win this ball game. And those are my picks this week. Just a reminder, I've got the Texans, Jaguars, Chiefs, Steelers, Redskins, Seahawks, Bengals, Bears, Ravens, Colts, Cardinals, Packers, Vikings, and Patriots all winning this week. Comment your picks down below. Also like, share, and subscribe. And I will see you in my next video. By the way, the World Series. I didn't make a video for that. But I think whoever wins this series is going to win it in 6 games.